James Carville knew how to win, and he blamed the Democratic losses this November 2nd on stupid wokeness. To which AOC fired back that wokeness is a term almost exclusively used by older people these days. So that should tell you all you need to know. What? This is a term folks like you brought out very recently and had been proudly displaying at every march since. Just last year, The Guardian declared woke the word of our era. I guess they didn't get the memo from the Mean Girls Club. We don't use that emoji anymore. Woke, please, we say fetch now.
There was a time when if you wanted to win an election, you picked up the phone and called James Carville. He helped shape much of the modern Democratic playbook, so when he pinned recent losses on what he bluntly labeled stupid wokeness, he wasn't just venting, he was speaking with hard-earned clarity. Predictably, AOC fired back, suggesting that the word woke now belongs to older generations. It's a bit like dropping a laughing while crying emoji into a serious political debate, as if facing facts suddenly comes with an age restriction. Depending on how you look at it, that moment is either sad or darkly amusing. Not long ago, the same crowd that coined the term woke proudly displayed it at protests and splashed it across hashtags. Now, many of those voices pretend it never existed. Just last year, even major outlets treated awake as the trendy word of the moment. Fast forward to today, and there's a scramble to erase old posts and insist, actually, we don't say that anymore. The whole thing feels less like politics and more like a high school popularity shift. Stop trying to make woke happen. The new approved word is something else. Bill Maher has been calling out this exact kind of behavior. If you appreciate sharp commentary that slices through the noise, remember to support the conversation here before we continue. It helps keep these discussions going. Now back to the firestorm. Maher isn't just poking fun at AOC for missing the signal. He's calling out an entire movement that took an idea rooted in awareness and turned it into a display of moral grandstanding. After losing elections and suffering clear defeats at the ballot box, you might expect Democrats to pause, rethink their approach, and maybe, just maybe, shift closer to the center, where most Americans actually stand. Instead, they seem to be doubling down and sprinting further toward the outer edges of ideology. That's the strange part. Maher genuinely agrees with some of AOC's principles. He's even said he supported her early on, including when she introduced the Green New Deal.
Said I would love to have AOC on this show. There's so much to admire there. I was one of her first supporters for the Green New Deal idea. But that will probably never happen because Democrats don't go anywhere these days where they're not pre-adored. And that's my last bit of advice to them. Go where the amen corner isn't. Do Fox News. Be brave. Come here. Go everywhere. Winning is about expanding.
But he also knows a real conversation is unlikely to happen because today's Democrats often avoid places where they might face tough questions. They prefer friendly rooms, predictable applause, and zero pushback. Maher's advice is simple and practical. Go somewhere unfamiliar, appear on Fox News, speak to people who don't already agree with you. Staying inside a comfort bubble doesn't win elections or change minds. Expanding the dialogue does. Maher isn't attacking as an opponent, which makes his critique sting even more. He speaks from a place of hope.
What a great strategy, never missing an opportunity to remind voters how lame and clueless and hopelessly uncool they are, especially since those are the ones who actually vote. But okay, fine. What word would you like us to use for the plainly insane excesses of the left that are not liberalism, but something completely different? Because you can't have that word liberal from us and think it should cover things like canceling Lincoln and teaching third graders they're oppressors. That's all your new thing.
Someone who still believes the Democratic Party can be steered back on course. Yet the whole effort to deny wokeness feels strange, almost like watching someone try to turn away from their own reflection. AOC herself hasn't rejected the ideas behind awakened ideology. What unsettles her is the label. It's as if she's saying, I still stand for all of this, just don't call me that in public. In other words, she's self-conscious about being seen as fully woke. Maher's central point is that today's progressives have drifted away from true liberalism. Traditionally, liberalism meant valuing free speech, reasoning through debate, and, above all, genuinely listening to those who disagreed. Now, fear dominates. Fear of saying the wrong thing, of posting the wrong opinion. or even accidentally tweeting something impure.
Pertinent question to ask about the word woke might be, why in such a short time has it gone from a rallying cry to a pejorative? If the word only made you think of rational, deserved causes like teaching a less whitewashed version of American history, AOC would still want to own it. But it's a joke, because it makes you think of people who wake up offended and take orders from Twitter, and their oversensitivity has grown tiresome.
Deviate slightly from the dominant narrative, and you risk being canceled, blocked, or labeled a traitor to the cause. This shift is new to many people. Woke has rapidly transformed from a badge of honor into an insult, and that change makes sense. If AOC and her circle genuinely championed justice or awareness, teaching honest history or promoting equality, the term would still inspire pride. Instead, it now evokes hypersensitive online mobs, activists who take Twitter trends as moral law, and a world where outrage can appear at any moment. It's exhausting. What once required genuine attention to injustice now often signals an aversion to reality itself. Maher has clearly reached his limit.
Said I would love to have AOC on this show. There's so much to admire there. I was one of her first supporters for the Green New Deal idea. But that will probably never happen because Democrats don't go anywhere these days where they're not pre-adored. And that's my last bit of advice to them. Go where the amen corner isn't. Do Fox News. Be brave. Come here. Go everywhere. Winning is about expanding the electorate.
He reminds Democrats that ordinary Americans don't talk in terms like menstruating individuals or birthing people. The message is simple. Women are women, and clear language matters. Yet the current left insists on replacing plain English with convoluted, pseudo-scientific terms, and then wonders why working-class voters feel completely disconnected from reality. Maher's frustration isn't performative, it's rooted in priorities. Once the party of the working and middle classes, of people who honored commitments, Democrats have shifted into an elite performance troupe that values moral signaling over tangible problem solving. When people struggle to put food on the table, the response is conferences on lived experience. When cities crumble and small businesses shut down, the focus turns to pronouns. And when Maher invites them for a real discussion, they vanish. He speaks honestly, but not out of hostility. He remains one of the few Democrats advocating for accountability and tough love. A message that today's political influencers who chase applause rather than answers find unbearable. Maher's pointed question, how can a party that supports so many middle-class benefits still seem out of touch to most Americans, hits the mark. The answer is simple.
And give the people all the goodies Joe Manchin will allow. And it doesn't seem to buy their love. Why? Why is the party that supports so many issues that benefit the middle class still considered out of touch by 62% of Americans? In plain English, nobody likes a snob. Hillary Clinton didn't have anyone on rural research or outreach when she ran in 2016 until the race tightened just before the election. Then they hired one. And where was his office? Brooklyn. True story. Politics is local, not locally sourced. It's not artisan. It's art and stand.
Snobbery alienates everyone. Even Hillary Clinton struggled with this. Until the very end of her 2016 campaign, she lacked a rural outreach team, and when she finally hired one, it was based in Brooklyn, hardly the heart of small-town America. Maher argues that politics doesn't start in distant offices, it's regional. Success comes from showing up where people live, being present, and being genuine. Yet, younger Democrats more obsessed with retweets than real-world outcomes don't grasp that lesson. As a result, the party steadily loses the support it once took for granted. Maher lays bare the damaging effects of obsessing over identity quotas, trigger warnings, and microaggressions. When box checking replaces genuine quality, the very people you aim to help end up disadvantaged. Prioritizing feelings over facts erodes credibility, and ironically, it alienates many women who simply want to be recognized as women.
Pro-aggression culture doesn't play in the Rust Belt. If a staffer hands you a speech that says menstruating people instead of women, don't say that. Say women. Don't put anyone fresh out of college in charge of the campaign. They've been given participation trophies their whole life. They don't know how to win.
Yet are avoided in language to avoid offense. He also points out how the participation trophy mindset has seeped into every corner of life. Instead of earning recognition for effort or achievement, people expect rewards merely for existing. This mentality has infiltrated politics and activism as well. Voters quickly notice when a political agenda emphasizes moral posturing over tangible results, and they are noticing. A growing number of Americans view the modern Democratic Party as self-serving. Maher jokes that Democrats abroad are often consumed with solving international problems. They organize marches for Gaza, fundraise for Guatemala, and send open letters to Afghan activists. Noble efforts, no doubt, but when it comes to fixing domestic issues like housing or infrastructure, there's gridlock and endless rationalizations. Maher offers a striking example. 6 progressive lawmakers voted against a $1 trillion infrastructure bill, a chance for real, visible improvements to highways, bridges, and transportation, because it didn't do enough for climate change. Free funding for concrete projects was turned down, leaving voters scratching their heads. The point isn't that climate change is irrelevant, it's that clean water, reliable subways, and job opportunities remain the top priorities for most Americans. The radical left's obsession with perfection has reached a point where compromise feels impossible. They'd rather let Americans struggle than meet halfway. When elected officials behave this way, people begin to question whether they even remember who they're supposed to serve. One topic that highlights just how disconnected the woke left has become is abortion.
I know every fiber of your being tells you the people you really want to reach are Guatemalan teenagers and bloggers in Gaza, but they can't vote. To a lot of folks in America, you come across as the cares about everybody but me party. And it doesn't have to be that way. You can find ways to stand up for these folks without being David Duke. This month, when the Democrats finally passed their big $1 trillion bill to rebuild our roads and bridges, 6 Democrats voted no because it didn't go far enough to address climate change, which I'm sure is true. What does? But this was free money from the federal government that would actually improve their constituents' lives. I can see a voter saying, you know, squad, I agree with you on climate change. But as long as it is happening, we also need money for getting the water pumped out of the sub.
For years, liberals framed it as a women's issue, insisting this wouldn't even be up for debate if men could get pregnant. Suddenly, that reasoning is complicated by the need to say, birthing people. Maher hilariously points out the absurdity. Somewhere, there's even a pregnant man emoji meant to make everyone feel included, as if a cartoon icon could rewrite biology. People lose interest when more energy goes into creating new phrases than solving real problems. Trust your roads and with it votes. This shift is already happening. Last week, a predominantly Latino district near the Texas border flipped red for the first time in decades. Rather than face the obvious truth that voters no longer see Democrats as their advocates, the campaign manager blamed everything else, Maher cuts through it perfectly. They're not asking you to be the lawyer for migrants crossing their backyard.
And then there's abortion. A difficult issue for the Democrats to lose on, but they're trying. For decades, liberals have said if only men could get pregnant, this wouldn't even be an issue. And abortion rights are women's rights. Well, that's wrong now. Or as the kids say, hold up. When the wokey end of the progressive spectrum talks about abortion now, they shy away from that word women and prefer terms like birthing people or people who menstruate, because somewhere there's a trans man who's pregnant, and I say good for him, and I'll be looking for his story somewhere in a future issue of.
He said they want you to defend them in court. At its core, Maher's critique of AOC and the woke left isn't just about labels or words. It's about a political party that has lost touch with the people it claims to represent. Democrats have managed to alienate the middle class while championing diversity, all by dismissing practical solutions, ignoring biological realities, and prioritizing global grandstanding over local struggles. Maher delivers a stark warning. Purity tests don't win elections. Solving real problems does. Yet the party seems to have turned against humility and compromise, doubling down on ideology and assuming voters simply aren't educated enough to understand them, rather than examining why they failed. The reality is straightforward. The message was clear, but people rejected it. Americans don't want politics that feels like a social theory seminar.
Like an 85% Latino congressional district on the border with Mexico. which had always voted heavily Democratic, flipped to the red team. And the campaign manager for the losing Democrat said, "We gave up a reliably Democratic congressional seat for no reason at all. We deserve to know why." Well, aside from your terrible attitude, I'm going to tell you why. Because these voters stopped seeing your candidate as their lawyer. That's why. Their message to you was, "I'm an American now. I'm here. Be my lawyer, not the lawyer for the migrants showing up in my bed."
They want jobs, affordable housing, security, and a government that treats them like responsible citizens rather than potential criminals. Maher offers his own party guidance. Stop chasing internet praise, show up in person, listen like public servants rather than speak like activists, and go where democracy actually lives, not just the safe, elite corners. Ultimately, it comes down to common sense over technical perfection, progress over performative posturing, and reality over theatrics. Democrats will continue to lose if they don't choose the first in each pair. Americans have grown tired of being condescended to, not because they're ignorant, but because they expect respect and results. Perhaps Maher isn't the enemy. Perhaps he's a mirror reflecting what the party refuses to see. And maybe that's exactly the point. If you found this analysis insightful, hit like and share your thoughts in the comments. Do you agree with Maher that Democrats are drifting out of touch? The conversation isn't over. Subscribe for more in-depth discussions and get ready. The next round promises to be even sharper.